Hi, everybody. It's me, Language Bay. You're now rocking with the best. And today I'm here with Tahila. Hey. And
What's
so we're just going to be talking about her language learning journey. And basically, that's it. And how she learned her languages and her tips for you guys. So thank you so much, first and foremost. Thanks for coming.
Of
For
course, of course.
being
I'm
here.
excited.
I'm excited too. Because I only know one other I guess language blogger, I guess you could say, that is fluent in Hebrew, that's Black. And I think her name was Yolanda Israel, something like that.
What? You just taught me something new. Why you didn't tell me this before?
I'm sorry, I just thought about it. But
There's
yeah,
more?
yeah. So I was like, when I saw you, I was like, oh my God, another one.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, so I'll give you the details. I was trying to get her to
Definitely.
participate, but I think she's really busy. She's actually, I believe she's in Israel right
In
now.
Israel? Okay.
But yeah, so I haven't really seen anything in my feed lately. But yeah, I saw her when I was, my early stages of starting this, and I was just like, oh my God,
Mhm.
that's so cool. So yeah, so it's cool to see you doing that. So just tell us your location right now and your heritage.
Sure. So I am currently in Charlotte, North Carolina. I was born in Brooklyn and my family is from Jamaica.
Yay! I'm from Brooklyn too. So
Which part?
here. Okay. I'm from Bushwick. We'll just leave it like that. I'm from
Okay.
Bushwick. We'll say that. And where are you
Flatbush.
from? Flatbush?
Yes.
Okay. I used to live, we lived for a very hot second. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that's Flatbush, Flatlands. Or is that Canarsie?
Canarsie.
It's
I
Canarsie.
lived in
Okay.
Canarsie too, but
Yeah,
like later
yeah.
on in life. Yes.
All right, yeah, we lived in Flatlands for a while, but I'm trying to think, did we ever live in Flatbush? No, I don't think so. Maybe not. I think my uncle did. Okay, so we got another Brooklynite. Yes. Okay. And then what were your native languages that you was raised in a household?
So I consider it's interesting question. So growing up, we spoke pretty much just Hebrew
Mm-hmm.
in the household, and then once I started school, I would say we sort of spoke less and less Hebrew and more English, just by nature of us like being out, going to school, coming home every day. But my foundation in Hebrew definitely came from home.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, and so I now I'm gonna have to ask more about that. I know you know it's coming because the topic
Yeah,
is coming,
always.
right?
People are like, huh? Jamaica, Hebrew? So when my parents moved to Brooklyn, they decided, I mean, they were in Brooklyn, perfect opportunity to learn Hebrew.
Mm-hmm.
And so they did. They learned Hebrew and they did it before they had kids because their mission was to be able to pass that on to their children. And for them, it was important and a really important connection to the Torah and to the way of life. And so yeah, so we were born and they talked to us in Hebrew, and so we just spoke Hebrew. um and that's that.
So, did you also learn like the script, or did you only just speak Hebrew at home?
So no, we learned to read and write at home, as well as speak. And so the reading, and not so much, I mean, like we learned how to write, but we weren't really like walking around writing in Hebrew. But the reading continued. We never really stopped reading in Hebrew. And speaking, we would just sort of like speak when we were outside and like wanted to say things and figure that most people probably wouldn't understand what we were saying. That we would switch to Hebrew, but yeah, we spoke a lot of English.
Okay. Oh wow, that's amazing. I always wanted to do something like that. I always wish that we grew up with that. But nowadays, we're having that conversation about African American vernacular English, which I don't like to
Hmm.
call it that, but it's the buzzword for right now. So that's what we're going to call it right now. But, now that we're having that conversation, we're acknowledging that as a language. It's making me feel like, okay, cool, because I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like it's a different experience when you grow up and you have the culture and you have a language that goes with that culture.
Hmm.
And so I think that's cool when you have something like that, where you have a separate language that you do at home and then you have the main language of wherever you're living at. I think that's very cool.
Absolutely. And it just opens up like another world to you. You have access to now like twice as many things as you would
Mm-hmm.
have before. Just, I mean, simple things like being able to listen to a song, and you can listen to music in like any language and enjoy it, but it's different when you actually know what's going on, when you know what's being said, or if you're watching something, or I can read news from two different sources, different
Mm-hmm.
perspectives. So it definitely opens up like a whole nother world. And yeah, it's also why I'm now learning Spanish so I can get a third world.
Oh wow. Okay. And so tell me more about what it is that you do professionally.
Yes, so I run the Kefar, which is a Hebrew language education company. So promoting and providing Hebrew language education directly to individuals and families who want to learn. But I also work with schools and organizations that also offer Hebrew or incorporate Hebrew into their programs.
Mm-hmm.
And then I consult on general online language teaching. So either providing training for school districts and organizations, or helping teachers who, now that everybody is teaching online, there are some teachers who are finding that they actually like it, and helping them actually set up online language teaching businesses. So figuring out how to do that, either to bring in additional income,
Mm-hmm.
or to, if they want eventually, to replace their full-time income, which is what I was able to do happily.
Amen. I'm trying to get like you.
It's great. It's definitely not easy. But if you enjoy teaching and you enjoy the language that you're teaching, it's like incredibly rewarding. Like that thing when people say, like if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. Like you'll work a lot. You'll work a lot of hours, but you'll enjoy it, and you have the freedom to, like with teachers in a classroom, there's so much pressure, so many people you have to answer to, so many things that you have to do. Whereas when you have your business and you're teaching online, you only answer to your students. So whatever is best for them and is going to help them achieve their goals, like you can do it, and you have the freedom to do that. And it's one of the most rewarding things about what I do.
That's amazing. All right. Yeah, I feel that. I mean, I work a lot for Black Girls Learn Languages as far as like trying to create the content and
Mm-hmm.
stay engaged on the different platforms, Instagram, the Facebook private group, the Facebook
It's
public page.
exhausting.
Yeah, the
It's like three
website.
full-time jobs.
It really is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
So, but I love it though. I'll be on fire when I get into doing it. But then there's the times when and what do you do as a person who gets there? You have your own business. So therefore you're responsible. You create your income. No one's creating it for you. No one's
Mm-hmm.
signing a check. So how do you handle um those times when you feel like I'm just not motivated, I'm burnt out, but you have to get stuff done. How do you handle that?
So the way that I handle it is basically in putting things in place to try to prevent it. So one of the
Mm-hmm.
things that I do is I only teach like 2.5 days out of the week. So I only offer classes Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and then Sunday mornings and like early afternoon. And so that frees up the other days for me to work on all the other things that are involved, as you know, in running a business besides
Right.
just like the direct service. I have like
Right.
corporate clients that I have to work with and social media and everything else. Another thing that I found to be really, really helpful, and this took me a long time, and for I think solo people running a business, it always takes them a long time to realize that you cannot do everything. Like you get to that point where you realize, I cannot do this anymore. It's not sustainable. I need to get help. And so I have a part-time assistant. His name is Manuel. He's fantastic. And he helps out a lot. And so anything, I try to think whenever I'm doing something, is this something that I have to do? Like, is this part of the magic that I bring to the business? Or is this something that I can delegate, that I can maybe take a couple of hours and train? Or if it's something that I can just like shoot him an email and he can take care of it. And so I think those two are the biggest things, like figuring out how to best manage your time so that you're not feeling burnt out, because that means that your priorities are all over the place. So you need to figure out like, what are the things that I absolutely need to do, and then what can I delegate? Even if you don't necessarily have someone on, let's say full time, if you're just like on Fiverr or Upwork, or just hire somebody for $5-10 to take care of this,
Mm-hmm.
take care of that. when it comes to like a time investment, it's worth it. Just get it off your plate.
I know that wasn't exactly language related, but there are a number of girls in the group that have their own business or they're freelancers or
Mm-hmm.
whatever the case may be. So I thought this might be an interesting question to ask.
Yeah.
All right. So that was the B side of the mixtape. Now we're going to get into the A side, which is your language learning journey.
All right.
So, first thing I want to ask is what opportunities were you able to take advantage of as a result of knowing Hebrew?
Ooh, so many. Um, so let's see what opportunities. So I participated in a summer program called
Mm-hmm.
TALMA, and it's like a Hebrew acronym, but it stands for like the Israel Program for Excellence in English. And every summer they pair teachers from native English speaking countries, so primarily the US, but also we had teachers from Ghana and from Mexico and Colombia and all over, just native English speaking teachers with an Israeli teacher in underserved communities in Israel to provide like an intensive month-long English program. And so just knowing Hebrew just made most of the American teachers or the non-Israeli teachers who go do not know Hebrew. And so there's a little bit of like intensive Hebrew education, but the program is really a month long. So it's not a lot of opportunities for teachers to really learn Hebrew. And so it makes them very dependent because you can't really get around if you don't know the language.
Right.
So knowing Hebrew really just allowed me to communicate a lot more and make more connections, both with the teachers that I was working with and just people that I would meet regularly. And from that program, I then went on to do a full year teaching fellowship, also in Israel with the same program. And while I was there, I was also writing curriculum for the program because I knew Hebrew and English, so I can write, a language curriculum that also relates to Hebrew. So I can say, oh, you can use this example, or, when you're writing this letter, write it this way because it looks like this one in Hebrew. And so being able to bridge those
Mm-hmm.
connections allowed me to like be a better curriculum writer for the program.
Right.
And then I was also connected with the director of another nonprofit who
Mm-hmm.
was STEM based, but they wanted to start an English program. And I was the person they recommended to create their program because, again, like I knew both languages and I was able to go and meet with the lady and talk to her in Hebrew and talk to the staff and the students and all of that. And then after that, I got a job teaching Hebrew. Like a job was waiting for me when I came back to the States. So
Wow.
definitely, it has helped, and it's sort of led like a pipeline. I've just gone from like one opportunity to the other, because I do really great work and because I know the language. So it's definitely been a blessing for me. And even now that I'm no longer in the classroom, I still work with the charter school network that I worked with when I was in the classroom. So it's just one leading into the other.
Wow. That's amazing. I mean, there's so many things I want to say. I think I even forgot. There's two things
Yeah,
actually.
that was
Now
a
I
lot. I felt like I
remember.
was rambling a little
No,
bit.
you weren't rambling. That was good stuff. It's just that I was just trying to take a mental note, like, ooh, that was interesting. I want to ask a question about that.
Mm-hmm.
Two things I wanted to ask a question. I just want to say before I forget. The first thing I wanted to ask, well, the second one was just a comment. First thing I wanted to ask was like, what were people's reactions to you as a brown person speaking Hebrew in Israel? And the second question is just a comment. I just want that to be a testament because in my group, we're constantly having um polls and things like that. People say, oh, I have the opportunity to learn this language or this language, which one should I learn? And I always tell people, learn your passion. Or people will say, oh, I wanted to learn this, but people told me I should learn this because I could get better job opportunities. And I just want this to be a testament that Hebrew is not one of the top 5 languages
Not at
people
all.
recommend, but yet you got all these opportunities out of that. You know what I mean? So I just
Yes,
want that to be a testament to what I always tell people: go with your gut and it will always have an opportunity.
absolutely. And I think also particularly for Black bilinguals or Black people who speak multiple languages. I think
Mm-hmm.
also, especially when you speak a language that people are not used to seeing Black people speaking, I
Mm-hmm.
think that also opens up an even bigger opportunity for people who value diversity. Because
Mm-hmm.
for the charter school network that I worked with, it's a public school. And so it's very mixed, very racially diverse. Most of the students do not come from a Hebrew speaking background. And so the idea of like, wow, we can actually give this mix of kids a Black Hebrew speaking teacher is pretty incredible. So I think also for people who value diversity,
Mm-hmm.
when you like come with proficiency in less commonly spoken languages, I think that definitely adds to the value that you bring, besides just knowing the language.
Mm-hmm.
And your question, oh, reactions.
Mm-hmm.
So in Israel, it wasn't, the reactions I think were, people were like very impressed, but I think it was more so impressed because I was American and able to speak Hebrew so well. And when I speak Hebrew in Israel, like my accent is almost identical to theirs. So a lot of people really can't tell. They assume that I'm Ethiopian in a lot of cases because there's a
Okay, yeah.
sizable Ethiopian population. So they'll generally assume that I'm just Ethiopian. And then when they find out that like, no, I'm from New York, they're like, what? Like, how did that happen? So that I think is, and because they're used to seeing, I mean, they're like Indian Jews and Chinese Israelis and all sorts of ethnicities living there. I think it's less like racial for them and just more like you're an American and your accent is really good is shocking to them. In America, I think it's definitely more of like a racial thing because I get the
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, that's so interesting. So like, how did that happen? How did you learn Hebrew? And it's just like, oh, I was born. My parents spoke to me, like that's it.
Yeah.
So it's definitely the reactions have been interesting. In America, it's almost like I've stumbled on this secret society and like, how did you manage to learn this? Where in Israel, it's like, damn, how did you manage to learn that? Good job. So
Yeah.
it's a little
That's
bit of a mixed
true.
bag.
That is true. Yes. I remember at my old job, there was a lady there. She also spoke Hebrew. She's Black. She
Mm-hmm.
also spoke Hebrew. She was Jewish. I forgot what she said she was though. She said it was a specific, I don't want to say sect, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like it was a
Mm-hmm.
specific, that it was like basically Black people who were Jewish is what it was. I
Okay.
forgot what the name is, but I
Okay.
remember she was, because we were talking about something, because I told her my name was Shahida, and then she was like, she asked me if I was that, again, I
Mm-hmm.
don't remember the word, and I was like, no, and she was like, oh, because I that sounds like the Hebrew word. I don't remember what she said. I said, no, actually, my name is Arabic.
Right. That's.
But yeah, I know they're very close because like
Mm-hmm.
shalom and salam, like I know they're very close in some things. So that's why I was like, okay, I get that. But I was like, but I was very interested. I was like, wow, you speak Hebrew. It's interesting because she was the first Black person I ever met that spoke Hebrew.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why when you said that, I was thinking that maybe your parents came from Jamaica and they were of that religion and that's how they knew. So that's why I was very curious.
Yeah.
I think that's
It's
amazing that they just decided they want to learn it and pass that on to their, like, I think that's amazing.
absolutely. I think it's an incredible commitment to decide. I mean, people decide or say that they want to learn languages every day. But I think the level of commitment that was required for them to learn the language at a level that they were able to then like speak to us and pass it on the way they did. They're not fluent, but their proficiency level is great. And the foundation that I got was absolutely 100% of what I got at home. And so when I decided like in college, okay, I think like I really want to pick this back up and really take it seriously, I was already like way ahead of I guess a lot of other people when they get started. So when people ask me like how long does it take to go from like beginner to, advanced level, I'm always honest and I'm like, I don't know. I've never been a beginner. I didn't start from that level. So I'm definitely very, very grateful for the commitment and the dedication that they had. And I'm hoping to do the same with Spanish so that I can raise some multilingual kids, but we'll see.
I think you can. Like I'm focusing on that right now too. Spanish, but I think so. If you can master Hebrew, I am wholeheartedly believe in you that you will
Oh, I believe in
master
me
it.
too.
And
I got this.
you got it. You got
I
it.
got.
So besides Hebrew and Spanish, are there any other languages in your life?
None that no. I really do want to learn American Sign Language, but I'm
Mhm.
waiting to get a little bit further on. I tried when I decided to like pick the Hebrew back up to do Hebrew
Mhm.
and Spanish at the same time. It does not work for me. Like, hats
Mhm.
off to anybody who can learn multiple languages at once. I cannot do it. So once I get a little bit further in Spanish proficiency, then I'll add on the ASL. But other than
Okay.
that, I think I'll be done.
Man, that's amazing. That's no, seriously, that's it's like amazing, and it's like every time I haven't published any interviews yet. Hopefully, by the time this comes out, I've been published a couple, but
Hmm.
it's like every interview I do is just like I am so glad you decided to come and share this with the community. Like seriously, they need to hear this, you know. Um, then okay, well, I guess this doesn't really apply, but I will still ask it anyway because I don't want to assume.
Okay.
When you were picking Hebrew back up, I guess you could say,
Hmm.
or at any point in time for any reason, did you ever feel intimidated to speak to anyone besides your parents, like outside of your parents?
Yes. So, so like I said, the only people that I spoke Hebrew with was family. And then the first time I went to Israel, it was 2009, the summer
Hmm.
before my senior year of college. And I was going to volunteer as an English teacher. I was working at an Ethiopian Israeli community center and an
Hmm.
elementary school.
Hmm.
And when I landed in Israel,
Hmm.
I did not understand anything that people were saying.
Oh my
And it wasn't
gosh.
the vocabulary, it was like how fast they were speaking and the accent. Because I mean, I learned Hebrew at home from two Jamaicans. So, like, the accent was way different than what I was used to. And I was just like, what
Right.
is this? And so,
Yeah.
all I did, I was there for 2 months and I just listened. I mean, after a couple of days, like, I got used to it, I adjusted, but I didn't want to talk. It was my first time leaving the country. I was there by myself. I didn't really know anything. And I'm like, if I talk, they're going to know that I'm not from here, which is like, I'm not from here. What's the problem? But in my mind at the time, it was like, no, no,
Right.
no. So I didn't speak, but I read everything, like bus maps, signs. I read everything. I listened to everything, listened to how people talk, listened to what they said. I
Mhm.
watched TV, listened to music, all of it. Um, so I'm kind of annoyed with myself that like I didn't also talk, but like I still got a lot out of the experience. And when I came back, that's when I decided, I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. Like I need to step it all the way up because the
Right.
next time I go, like I need to be on the same level as everyone else.
Right.
Um, and that's what happened. And I've been back 5, 6 times since then, including, like I said, I was there for a year teaching. And yeah, so I'm over that now. Like I, even with my little broken Spanish, I will speak it. I went to Aruba in October,
Mhm.
and I discovered, I didn't know that a lot of people speak Spanish there, and I was,
Really?
yes, I
I
had
thought the
no.
language was Dutch in Aruba.
It is an official language, and I think they, like, school is in Dutch, but they start learning Spanish from like second or third grade or something like that. So
Uh-huh.
a lot of people speak Spanish, Portuguese, I want to say, and Dutch. But
Okay.
nearly everybody that we encountered spoke Spanish. So like my Spanish is, it's not deplorable, but like it's not impressive. But like I don't care. I'm gonna use whatever I know and I'll ask questions and I'll learn as people respond to me. So I've completely gotten rid of that shyness because
Mhm.
like, there's no point, and it just stifles your own progress. Like you're gonna make mistakes. Sometimes you're gonna sound stupid. There's nothing you can do about it, so you might as well just do it, get over it,
Right.
learn from it,
Right.
and then you'll be a better speaker.
Okay. All right. Now, besides that, what would you say or you could even speak for both languages. What
Okay.
would you say was your hardest struggle for Hebrew and your hardest struggle for Spanish? And then how did you overcome them if you did, or how do you deal with them if you didn't?
Um, I would say, well, I don't know if it's a struggle, but I would say my weakness when it comes to Hebrew is writing. So speaking and listening and reading, I'm fine. But when it comes to write, just because I don't really write in Hebrew, and even if, you know, when I was in staff meetings or wherever where I had to speak Hebrew or listen to Hebrew, I'm taking notes in English or whatever, just because I write a lot faster that way. So now I'm actually working with, I have a lesson after this interview. I'm actually working with a teacher just strictly on writing. So I write, she'll give me writing assignments, I write it, and then we go through and she'll make like those little corrections. Because when it comes to writing as a skill, like I still think in English, translate it in writing, but writing is very different from speaking. You know, like having to write an academic paper is different from even just talking about the same subject. So that's, I'm working through. I won't say like I've gotten over it, but it's something that I'm definitely working on. Spanish. Spanish has a lot of verb tenses, like a lot.
It is. Oh my
And
gosh.
like Hebrew verbs aren't simple, so I get it, but there's like way more in Spanish. And like, I don't know when it should be, I don't even want to say, but like, I don't know. When is it like estaba or like esta?
Yep.
I don't know. I have no idea. So it's a crapshoot. So for that, like I'm watching right now Vis-a-Vis on Netflix, which, what is it, Locked Up. So I watched it all in Spanish audio with English subtitles just to like get the story, but I still listened a lot to like what people were saying. And now I'm rewatching it little by little with Spanish subtitles, so I can read along as well. So I try to like pay attention anytime I hear things and repeat it and process it that way, but that's a hurdle. It's not easy.
You preaching to the choir. I know. I was just on my other interview, I was just saying how, you know, the subjunctive and the conditional for Spanish was like the bane of my existence. I couldn't get it. And it wasn't until, because German also has, it's not similar to Spanish, but there are some concepts, I would say, that helped me. Like once I realized it existed in German, because the thing is, I learned German like I learned my native language. I acquired it naturally. And then after I got to a conversational point where I could have conversation and talk to people, then I taught myself the language arts portion, which was the grammar, the same way we do it. We learn it at home, then we go to school and we, you know, learn the grammar. So a lot of stuff in German is intuitive for me because I didn't learn it in school. And so that's why I was like, once I realized like, oh, snap. So that's what that is in German? Okay, so now I get it, like what they're trying to do with Spanish. But that's really my only saving grace, because if it wasn't for German, I would really be like stuck.
Yeah, even those terms like conditional, preterist, I'm like, what? Speak English. What is that?
Speak English. Well, I mean, the conditional, I mean, it's for me, because I'm a person that I always been in love with words and like root words, prefixes, superlatives, like all that stuff. Like that was my thing. Like I actually enjoyed the grammar portion of the language arts classes.
I do not. I do not enjoy grammar, and that's why, like, in a lot of my lessons, I try to like simplify things and not use like these grammatical terms. One, because half the times I don't know what they are. Like, I don't know official names for things. But I can explain like exactly what it is and exactly how to use it and simplify it. And I'm like straight up, I'll tell people like, this might have an official name. I don't know what it is. We're just gonna call it like the backwards, whatever. Like, this is how we use it. But it worked, because same thing with Hebrew. There's so much technical things, and like I never learned all of these like technical things because I just learned it. All of that stuff came later when was figuring out like, okay, how can I teach this? Now I have to go back and learn like, why is this the way that this is? But I still, like, I don't love it. I do not enjoy grammar.
She's like, I do not. You know what's so funny? I had a foreign exchange daughter. She came and stayed with me when I was living in Atlanta, right? And so she, you know, I would ask her, you know, help me.
From Germany?
Yeah, from Germany, from Hamburg, Germany. And so she stayed, and so I would help her with her homework and stuff. Like, she would ask for my help. And so I remember I was helping her with her English homework, because she was like, I don't understand this. And then I'd be explaining it to her, and I'm like, all right, well, this is a verb, and this is the adverb. So this is modifying the verb. And then, you know what she told me? Like, I'm trying to, like, because for me, this is my thing, right? And then I'm like, you have to put, she's like, but I don't understand. And I'm like, this is a conjunction. This connects the sentence. So then therefore you have to do this. So she was like, Mom, you know what? I think you actually know more about English than my English teacher.
Oh, I'm sure of it. And I think part of it has to do a lot with like how teachers are trained. Because when I was teaching in Israel, and I had a co-teacher, I love her,
Mm-hmm.
and we would sit down and plan, and sometimes we would teach separate classes or separate groups, and then sometimes we would teach together.
Mm-hmm.
So I would ask her like, okay, what are we doing with this class? And she's like, present simple. And I'm like, what is it? And then she would say what it is, and I'm like, oh, okay, I know it. I'm like, I am a fantastic writer and I can speak very correctly, but I don't know what is like present progressive or present simple. So I learned so much of that from her, because that's how they learned, English in school. And they would learn like present progressive, and you drop the E, you double this letter. And I'm like, oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, who knows that? I don't know what that is.
Yes. I know. I'm a nerd, I guess. No, I'm a nerd and a geek, because apparently there's a distinction between both. Nerd is somebody who's like, they study that like academically, which I've done, and then there's people that's like, it's their passion, so therefore they know a lot of
Oh,
trivial information about it, so therefore they're a geek. And it's like,
interesting.
yeah, I'm both, because it's like I like it, but then obviously I've went to school and I've learned these things in school. So it's like I'm a language nerd and a language geek. So
I love learning it, but I just need to simplify all of these. I give things other names that work for me, cause
right.
yeah.
I need to probably learn from you, because I feel like oh my God, I feel like I would not be good for people who not, because I mean, everybody's not getting excited about etymology, and that this this word originated from the Latin, and that's
Oh, no.
why, like, nobody
I
cares.
mean, well, it
Just
depends though, cause roots, like for Hebrew, roots are incredibly important. Like
uh-huh.
roots are like the language is built on roots, and
Mm-hmm.
so learning roots is actually really important, and that I love to do. But if there's
Mm-hmm.
like a specific, I don't know, once it gets too technical, like I zone out. I'm like, nope, it's not working for me.
I'm sorry. I don't blame. You know what I get like that with? I get, as soon as I see numbers, I emotionally shut down. Like, I don't. I can't
Oh.
hear nothing else you saying. Like, I had an accounting class. Like, I did well in all three of my other classes, but the accounting and finance class,
Hmm.
I just barely passed it. I don't. And I know she ain't passed me, because they don't do that here. They don't do that pity. Like, I'm gonna just give you this D. Like, no, they will fail you behind 1 point. So
You worked hard for that
I
D.
worked hard for it. But yeah, so I feel you on that, because as soon as I see, well, I won't say numbers. As soon as I see formulas, I'm done.
Oh, I live for formulas.
I'm done. And you know
I
what?
love formulas.
You know what's so funny? I'm trying to convert my American license to the German license, and they did the evaluation, and he told me I just have to take the written test, and then I'll have my license, right?
Okay.
But it's not like in the States, because like I think I just did my whole thing commando and got my permit. And so here it's like they have like 50 million hieroglyphic signs that you cannot figure out by just looking at them. Because
Okay.
like I was looking at like so I started going, there's a school right here, and I started going, and so I can know what the signs are, know this and know
Mhm.
that. And the teacher's like putting a sign on the board, like with the prompter thing, and he's like, class, does anybody know what this is? I'm looking at it like, electricity, um love struck, like, what is this? I don't know. And then this other one, he's like, what does this mean? And I'm like, candy cane, like, I don't know what it means. But so
Mhm.
apparently when there's a stripe, that tells you apparently how many meters away you are from whatever, I don't know. So like if there's
Oh,
one
okay.
stripe around, so it's like one red stripe on the white thing, that might be
Mhm.
30 meters. I might be saying it wrong, but something like that. And then if it's two stripes, it's 60 meters. Then if it's three stripes, it's 90 meters, something like that. And I'm just like, and I'm
Okay.
supposed to know that, just okay. So, Anyway, they have formulas too. So not only do you have hieroglyphics
Oh,
as street signs, I also need to know, like, one time when we were in class, he gave us a test. Basically, we have to, so I'm just trying to understand at what point between me like slamming on the brakes to not get in an accident, am I supposed to do this formula in my mind to
oh
check the speed?
wow.
And yeah, so you're supposed to do this formula. You're supposed to divide the
To
speed you're
determine when you can slam on the
right.
brake.
Like, so how much time you got to slam on the brakes before you don't hit what's in front of you? And I'm just like checked out. I'm done. Like, I have nothing else to contribute to this class today.
That is hilarious. I love formulas, but that is a new one. That is new.
Oh yeah, because I was just like, are we really calculating? Because he was just like, you guys need to know this, because that way, if you see the speed you're going and you can estimate how many meters between you, then you already know at what point you need to slam on the brakes so that you safely don't hit that
They
thing.
have a lot of faith in humanity.
You know, Germans are a whole different culture, let me tell you. Like, they're a whole different, they're very analytical and logical beings. They're not like Americans at all. Like, this is the land of thinkers and poets. And, you know, ours is the land of the free, the home of the brave. Two completely different thought processes. One is analytical and logical, and one is like feeling emotion based. So they have a lot of faith in the thought processes because they're analytical and logical. That would never work in the US, I'm telling you right now.
Oh, I believe it.
No. Not with people like me. No. I'm like, how about I just drive like a 90-year-old every single day? Like, to me, that's the solution. The solution is I'm not going to calculate anything. I'm just going to drive 30 miles, 40 miles an hour wherever I go. The end. Like, that's it. That's my solution. So, but yeah, so hold on, I had some more questions, a couple more. Um so I have a question. I know you said that you wanted to learn, what made you decide you wanted to learn Spanish?
I always wanted to learn Spanish from elementary school.
Really?
Yes, but we didn't. So my elementary school, I went to elementary school in Brooklyn, and we didn't offer a language. And then when I went to junior high, I knew sixth grade I'm gonna get to start learning a language. So I wanted to learn Spanish because it just seemed like the language to learn. Like, it just made
Yeah.
sense, and I loved how it sounded. You know, as a little kid, when you just like make a bunch of sounds and you act like you speak Spanish.
Yeah, I know. Trust me, I know.
You just
I
talk like really,
know.
really fast. Yeah. So I used to do that all the time. I really wanted to learn Spanish.
Mhm.
And then I found out we got into sixth grade that the honors kids had to learn French. And we didn't get to pick what we wanted. It was like the honors kid, it was really elitist now that I think about it. Like, there was like honors and then like a middle, I forgot what they called it, maybe like magnet, and then like the regular kids. The regular kids had to learn Spanish, the honors kids had to learn French, and then like the middle kids could pick whichever one they wanted to do.
Really?
Yes. And so I had to learn French, and so I had like not a mental block, because I learned it, I did very well, but I hated it. And I think that I hated it more because I wanted to learn Spanish. And so I never really connected with it. And then I moved upstate. Well, it's not upstate, but it's upstate to people from Brooklyn. So I moved upstate for 7 through 12. And I had already taken a year of French, so I just continued with French. Again, like, I hated it the whole time. I did fine, but I never connected with it. And so now I only remember like a few phrases and things because I never used it. I never wanted to use it. I wanted to learn Spanish. So in college, that was like my opportunity. I said, okay, in college, I get to pick what I want to study. And so I'm going to learn Spanish. And I got through maybe 3 or 4 semesters, did well. And then I got to like intermediate reading. And I was also working on my Hebrew. And anytime like I couldn't remember something in Spanish, I would fill it in Hebrew. I was frustrated. The professor, I feel like he was frustrated with me. And so I was like, okay, this is not going to work. Like, I need to put this to the side and go back to Hebrew. So I did that. regret it, but I did that. And then in January of this year, I decided like, okay, let me be serious and like I want to get into Spanish now. And so I use Duolingo every day, listen to a little bit of music. I'm watching shows. I also took a class with Fluent City. I took a Spanish class that was like a few months long. And I do plan to continue to take classes because for me, like apps and all this other stuff is good, but I need to talk to people. So
I understand that too.
yes.
I totally understand that. I um I I had a question. Oh, remember now.
Okay.
So, do you feel that did you okay, so when you started Spanish, did you get that feeling like, oh, I already know some of this stuff because of French? Or you had too much time pass by?
I don't even remember. I don't even remember. I think I felt like I knew some of it because some of it, like there's so many similarities to English. Um, and also like I have a knack for languages, so like I can mimic accents pretty well. Like I went to Martinique and they speak French and I know how to say I don't speak French in French. And so I would say like, good night, I don't speak French, but my accent is so good that they would be like, no, yes you do. I'm like, no I don't, like I know how to say this and that's it, like please speak to me in
Mhm.
English. um so I'm pretty good with like learning languages and figuring out accents and stuff, so that part isn't really hard for me. It's just figuring out like for Spanish when to use what.
Mhm.
Um, but no, I don't know that I felt like French was helpful in any way. I don't
Aw. I was hoping you was going to say yes.
know.
Give some hope to my people that are studying French and Spanish at the same
It
time.
might be. I won't say it's not helpful. I don't remember it. And also like once I stopped studying French, I was like, that's it. I don't ever want to hear this again.
Right,
So
empty it out of my
I
head,
don't
make
know.
space for
Yes.
Spanish. All right, I can take that. And then I guess, huh? I'm gonna just ask this question just because the last time I asked this question, I was surprised, so I don't want to like assume.
Okay.
So which of your foreign languages is your favorite?
Hebrew.
Okay. I felt like you were gonna say that, but I was like, last time I asked the question and I thought they were gonna say Spanish and they were like
Mhm.
French. And I was like, wait, what? French,
Yeah, no,
why?
Hebrew is and will always be my first love.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Why do you feel that way? Is it because you learned it as a native language?
I think that it is I think that it's beautiful. Not like lyrical in that it's like wonderful to listen to. I don't think it's
Mhm.
necessarily like wonderful to listen to in the way that Spanish can be.
Mhm.
Um, but it's so like logical. Like going back to what we talked about with roots, like Hebrew just makes so much sense. And like words that come from other etymology, okay,
Mhm.
and like you look at the root and you're just like, oh, this is how they got that makes it's so smart. Like I love listening to it and hearing like the connections between like the words and all of that. So yes, that's why for me it's my love.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Good. That's good to know. And then what are well you dropped a lot of actual valuable information thus far, but what would you say are the top 3 things that helped you that you would recommend other language learners do?
One is consistency. Got to be consistent. Um, and that's why I always recommend for people to start small because it's a lot easier to be consistent when you are committing like 15 minutes a day as
Mhm.
opposed to being like, I'm going to study for an hour every day. Nobody has an hour every day. Like, stop it. Um, but if you start at 15 minutes and after a month, 2 months, then you can, start to progress your way up. You can make time to do that.
Mhm.
So definitely be consistent. um Talk to people for my
Mhm.
second tip. Like talking is key. uh Apps alone like are not going to do it for you. They're great, they're fantastic supplements, like all these other things that you can do are fantastic, but like the only way to develop speaking proficiency and to
Mhm.
improve speaking proficiency is to
Mhm.
speak. Like there's no way around that. And my last thing I would say is to use what you learn. So like I realized that writing words down is not really helpful for me because I'll have like lists of all these words and maybe I'll review it like once or twice. But like once the list starts getting extensive, I'm not going back to review all of these words. But if
Right.
I can use them, like even if I tell people talk out loud, like if you don't want to
Right.
think of it as talking to yourself, talk out loud, narrate whatever it is that you're doing. If you have a list of words, instead of just studying the list, like write with them. If you can incorporate them into a story, write a story with the words,
Right.
or just use a couple of them in sentences. But like be active with the words and don't just
Mhm.
have a list. So use it as much as possible. Talking out loud, writing with them, you know, decide that you're going to practice these words in conversation with whoever you're talking to. That, in my opinion, is much more useful and much more like it'll lead to you acquiring the words better as opposed to you just trying to memorize these words from a list.
Right. That's true. Yeah, I try to do that regardless, like even in my native language, because if you
Mm-hmm.
read books, that
Mm-hmm.
expands your vocabulary. And
Absolutely.
so I'll see words and then I'll just use them, which is probably why people don't like talking to me. But because like I'll be like, because I
You
remember
just
one
use the
time
GRE.
you said what?
I said people feel like GRE with
I
you.
think so, because like I was talking to somebody and I was like, oh, they get me so mad. They just they just said it so cavalier. It just gets on my nerves. And they were like, what's cavalier mean? And I was just like, because I do that all the time. Like I say stuff like that all the time. And then I was just like, I felt like, oh, like because I feel like, because I think people take it like I'm being a certain way, but it's just I saw the word. So in order to solidify that I know the word, I use it. And then you know
Mm-hmm.
how kids are, you know how a kid learns something and they overuse it. They just
Mm-hmm.
and you just and I do the same thing with the target languages. Like for instance, if I'm at work and somebody said something in a way that I'm like, oh, okay. And then for the rest of the week, that's what I'm saying in all my emails, every single one.
But that's how you learn. And in terms of like, yeah, like my group chat with my girls, and we say like, yo, I love that we can be ratchet and we can also use SAT words. Like it's
Yes.
balance. And we do that all the time. Like, well, because like you said, you need balance. You need access to both cultures, and both areas of society. And but you do learn a lot just by listening and reading. So like you said, if somebody, especially for me, because I know for Hebrew, I'm really working on Hebrew. So anytime like somebody will send me an email or whatever, I'll look at the structure, look at, the opening, the closing, read all this. Oh, this is what what they use to transition from this idea to the next or whatever. So paying attention will definitely get you very far. And then once you paid attention and you see or you hear whatever, then using it. And that, like you said, will help solidify it, help you acquire it so that it becomes a part of your lexicon and a part of what it is that you know and how you can express yourself in that language.
Yes, and let me tell you, German lexicon is no joke. They are the kings of compound words. When I tell you,
Mm-hmm.
if I see, I'm gonna be honest with you, like I've gotten better. That's another thing I used to emotionally shut down because they have these long words that be like 15, 17 letters. And so if I see that the word has more than 6 letters, I'd be like, I don't know that. And then I just ask somebody what it
Like I got
means.
that.
Right. Because normally it's like 3 to 4 words mixed
Mm-hmm.
together. And then it's like
Oh
you
wow.
have to figure, yeah. So like for instance, one is like Studentenwohnheim. That's 3 words. So Studenten is students, Wohn is living, Heim is like it's like home, but not like the home like this. It's like a specific type of home, right? Like you
Okay.
can say Altenheim, it's a home for old people, like that kind of home. You know what I
Okay.
mean? So
Mm-hmm.
Studentenwohnheim is basically a student living residence where the students live at.
But they have to put all those 3 words to make one word.
Exactly. That's what they have to do. That's what they have to do. And they got
they
so many
can't
ways.
they can't just leave them as 3 words.
No, they
Okay.
can't.
Whatever works.
And they have a lot of that. And so I used to get very discouraged because I'll be like, I'll never learn this until I just had to like say, okay, if you see a big word, try to identify what's the small words, and then
Mm-hmm.
just try to, like another one, Wohngemeinschaft. That's 2 words actually,
Mm-hmm.
even though it sounds like 3. Gemeinschaft is like community,
Mm-hmm.
and Wohn is living. So it's
Living.
like basically the roommate situation when you like
Okay.
all renting a room. They call it like a living community. It's like a shared living space. So
Mm-hmm.
that they love to do that. And I know one time I saw a word. It had to be at least 7 words. I was like, I'm not even gonna try. I just don't know that. I'm gonna have to ask somebody. That's it. Do they have words like that in Hebrew, where it's like compound words, or is it relatively simple?
Simple is relative, depending on who you ask. I don't, because I was thinking when you were saying that, like, yeah, there are compound words, but it'll be like 2 short words and not like
Mm-hmm.
just both words just put together. It'll be like a piece of a word and a piece of another word, but nothing
Uh-huh.
that like is crazy, like will stump you. The one thing that I did, just like how you had to come up with a strategy to like realize like, oh, okay, this is a compound word, is a lot of times they'll write words that are English words, but with Hebrew letters. And so when I got to Israel, I was like reading stuff and I'm like, I know how to read. Like, why do I not know what this word is? And then I started to realize, oh, because this says gold star, but it's just like not like the words in Hebrew, but it's just the word gold star written in English letters. And that's a beer, by the way. Everybody loves Gold Star. But they, and so I started to recognize, like, oh, when I see this letter and this letter and this letter, this is an English word. But it was a process, because at first I was like, why are all of these words like things that I don't know? Why can't I read these words?
Mm-hmm.
But then I realized, because I was trying to make Hebrew words out of words that were not Hebrew. So yeah, it is a
And
process. Everything is a learning process, and I don't think
mm-hmm.
that there's ever an end to it, which is why for me, like I don't think I have ever said that I'm fluent in Hebrew, and I don't know that I will
Why
ever say,
not?
I don't
Why?
know that I
Why?
will ever say that I'm fluent,
Why?
because I guess it depends on how you define fluent. And I think even in like the language learning and language teaching community, I don't think there's a consensus on what fluent is. But for me, because I have very high standards, so for me, if I say I'm fluent and then I come across a word that I don't know, I'm going to be mad. And I'm going to feel like I just
But
lied.
that's not. But I mean, the thing
I,
is, I come across English words all the time that I don't
I
know.
know, and I say that too, but I don't know. I will just say like I speak English and Hebrew, and I have like advanced proficiency in Hebrew, but I don't know that it will ever come out of my mouth. Other people will say it. Like I've had other people
That
that I've
is
worked with
fluency,
say it,
though.
but
Well, I mean, the thing is, I talk about this as well. I actually have a video on my YouTube. I'm gonna have to redo it because my
mm-hmm,
YouTube stuff, some of the stuff is like old. I only started recently getting active again this year.
mm-hmm.
So one of the things I talked about was the concept of fluency, because that's my soapbox. That's why as soon as you said that, I was like, oh, wait a second, because this finna run
Come
another 20
on,
minutes.
let's talk
This
about
finna
it.
run another 20 minutes. Okay, because see, I'm getting comfortable. I'm like, listen. So, all right. So basically, this is the thing. This is how I feel about fluency, and this is what my videos and my stuff, what I feel
Mm-hmm,
like people should know about fluency. Fluency is, well, first of all, just like simplicity, fluency is relative, right? That's number one. Number two, when you have to define it for yourself, like not even, we're not going to talk about other people right now, just defining it for yourself, excuse me. There are degrees of fluency, so there's just not one one size fits all. Like, I mean, you can
mm-hmm,
just, you say, yes, I'm covered under the fluency umbrella because I'm at this level of fluency or that level of fluency, whatever. Yes, you can do that. But a lot of people think, a lot of people equate fluency with near native proficiency, and that's not the case. Fluency is, basically the degree, because there's varying degrees that you can have relative ease in communicating in that language in a conversation, right? So if you can communicate in that, yes, like that happens in English. Oh, what's that word? It's a word I want to say, but I don't know, but you know what I'm trying to say. That
mm-hmm.
happens in your native language too. So I don't feel like, to me, Oh, if I could have a conversation without missing one word, that's automatically I mean, yes, it is fluency, but that doesn't mean because I can't do that I'm not fluent. Like if you can have a basic conversation, that's a degree of fluency. That's not near native level, but it is a degree of fluency. And then it goes up from there. And there's varying degrees. So that's why when people tell me I don't like to describe myself as fluent, I'm like, why? Because you have people out here that I know for a fact, personally know, that cannot construct a sentence in the target language to save their life, yet they will tell you they're fluent. And then there's people
I
out
know
here
people like that too.
and then there's people out here that are actually living and working in another country, and they're like, oh, but I don't want to say I'm fluent. But sis, what language do you speak at work all day? You know what I mean? Like, just because you still occasionally read a dictionary does not mean you're not fluent.
I
So
think for me, I differentiate. No, I understand what you're saying.
I'm
And
sorry, it's just that I get so passionate
no, don't
because
be sorry. We sorry for it. We have a conversation. Don't be sorry.
I know, it's just that I hope nobody looks at this and thinks that I'm like, it's just that Black women, we have this tendency to always underestimate what we're doing, and I don't like that. That's why I get so passionate about the fluency thing, because a lot of us are hesitating to, and it's like, no, you
I
have to
think
say it.
I don't know. No, because for me, I will no, like I'll tell you, like I am a damn good teacher and I am like fantastic at what I do, and I don't like undercut or downplay anything that I do. Like I'm amazing. But when it comes to for me, like I differentiate between proficiency and fluency. So for me, like the way that you look at fluency on a scale, for me that's proficiency, and then sort of that pinnacle is fluency. But I do understand that the way that I'm looking at it, in my mind, I will never attain fluency.
Exactly. Why would you do that to yourself?
Like,
Why would you do
which
that
I
to
always
yourself?
do say, like fluency is this elusive goal. I'm still chasing it, but I think that I'm ever actually gonna get there?
Why that you're making fluency a moving target? Why would you do that to yourself?
Well, I don't know. I gotta think about it. I don't know. I feel like once I put sort of the same thing with like expert. I don't know. I don't know. Like I'll be a specialist. I don't know about I don't know.
Listen, I'm
face.
sorry, I'm looking at you because I'm like, you know what?
That is because for me, when I hear it, like if you tell me you're an expert, like my expectations are like all the way up here. So if you are like here, you might be like better than average. You might be very good, but like we're gonna have a problem with this expert title. And maybe it's because I know a lot of people who are calling themselves experts.
Yes.
And
Oh,
that's
yes.
what it is. Because I know a lot of people who are calling themselves experts and are claiming fluency in languages that they struggle in, or claiming expertise in things that they are not experts in. And so I think I'm wary of taking on that same title because of what I've experienced. And I don't want
to
fall short for someone else who is looking for a certain level of expertise.
But the thing is people out here that don't have half the talent, half the gift that you have, and they're getting it though. But they're getting it though. That's what I'm saying. They don't have half, but they're getting it though. So I feel like no, I'm a person that I just feel like I don't know. I just feel like nobody's ever like I don't think I've ever not with German. I mean, I know like I think I'm very self-aware of my lingual abilities. If anything, I probably underestimate my abilities. I'm not the person who overestimate. But I don't think I've ever, I mean, I would say since I've gotten certified like that. Since I've gotten certified, because that's another mental thing in my mind, because now it's like, you can't tell me that. Because guess what? The Goethe Institute told me I can speak German. So I don't want to hear nothing else nobody got to say. So it's like, it's that extra boost of confidence, because before it's like, I don't, you know what I mean? So it's like, who go check me, boo? Like, who go check me, boo? Like, you can't check me. Right? I have receipts. Not even that. I passed the CLEP exam and got a whole semester of German CLEP'd out for my
Mm-hmm.
degree. So I got receipts on receipts. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? So it's like, if somebody was to ever call me out, like I've never really had anybody like, well, you're not fluent. Like I said,
Yeah,
since
no, same. I've always had the opposite of people who are like, "Oh, you're fluent," and I'm like, "Whoa, pipe down, no, I'm not." Um, but but maybe I'll stop.
I
Maybe I'll
think
think
you
about it.
should,
I'll think
because
about
the thing is, and you have to consider the source of who is asking this question, because nine times out of 10, person who asking you is monolingual to begin with. They
it.
trying to learn another, you know what I'm saying? Like you have to consider that too. So
Hmm.
it's like expert compared to what? What is
Right.
they, you know what I mean? So it's like you have to consider the source when you answer the question, in addition to what I'm saying about this continuum of fluency, right? So that's why I say that. And I get so passionate because I just want to see Black women stunting. That's it. That's all I want to see. I don't want to see, oh, well, and I'm just saying because I used to be guilty of that. And I do sometimes struggle a little bit too, especially when the person who's asking can speak English as well as, or even better than I speak German. Then I get like a little hesitant, like,
Hmm.
to say I'm fluent because I know that I'm fluent, but what are they going to understand when I say it? Are they going to debate me, whatever? But I want us to stop doing that. I want us to just listen. I have this thing that I like to say, excuse my language. Fuck being humble. It's time to stunt. It is. It is. So that's why I get so passionate about the fluency thing when it comes to us saying we're fluent.
I'll think about it. I really
All
am gonna
right.
think about
Think about
it.
it. Take as much time as you need.
I really
If you
am.
decide, if you decide you agree, let me know.
I
Just
will
let me
let you
know.
know. I
Let
will
me
let you know.
know. We can celebrate because we're gonna celebrate. Seriously, let me
I'll
know
let you
if
know.
you decide, you know what, I agree with what you have to say. Let me know so we can celebrate. And I don't know how we're gonna do it, but we do it somehow way virtually.
Of course, this is the time of virtual happy hours and brunches,
Yes.
baby showers, and all that.
Right. My cousin, she had she having a virtual baby shower, I think.
That's the
And I'm
thing.
just like, wow, like I can't believe this is where we are right now. Like
Yeah.
virtual, and then it's just crazy to me. And I think I might have said this on another interview. I don't know. But what really trips me out of all of this, like we had whole cities shut down, whole states shut down, country borders is closed, flights reduced, like we're really in, like they've declared it a pandemic, and you still have people sliding in your inbox, and it's like, so you don't care if you die of a respiratory infection. You don't. You clearly don't. You're sliding into random people's DMs talking about Netflix and chill. Like we're really still risking our lives. We're not even talking about the STDs because they ain't magically go away. They still there too. But
No.
it's just this time that we live in. Like we live in the virtual, and then I mean, I think it's cool that we can do this though. Like, don't get me wrong. I think it's very cool that we can do the Zoom, and I just think, should we have to rely on it? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, no, I love it, obviously, because I mean, it's the bulk of my business. My business is based on online teaching and a lot of online engagement, so I'm very happy to that effect. But yeah, definitely the face-to-face and human interaction. Like, as much as I love online teaching, and I think that there's so much value in like teaching and learning language online,
Hmm.
it doesn't replace face-to-face interactions in a classroom. I think that it's
That's
a
true.
viable alternative. I think that there are definitely things that you can do online that you can't do in a classroom, but vice versa, there's definitely things that you can do in a classroom that just can't be replicated online. So having both options is definitely the way to go. And I'm really curious to see what schools and what education is going to look like in the fall, because I don't know that they've decided that everyone is definitely going back. I think it's still too early. So it's just interesting to
Yeah.
see what that is going to look like.
Hmm. My only thing is, I'm sorry, because I was just like talking about this with somebody, so that's why I'm mentioning the DM thing, whatever.
Mhm.
But also, I was just talking about this with my friend, and I was like, they need to do just like we doing everything else virtual. They need to do virtual dating. You need to Uber Eats me some food, and on Zoom we have a conversation while
Oh,
we
I think people
eating.
are doing that.
Really? Because I haven't heard of
Yes.
nobody doing that, and I want
I
my
think
free Uber Eats meal. Like I'm still waiting on
I think people are definitely,
it.
I don't know if they're doing, I know of people who are dating and are continuing to virtually date. I don't
Hmm.
know about like first dates. If people are like meeting people and doing the whole like first date from afar thing. I haven't heard too much about that, but I have no idea.
Yeah, because I was just like, I want somebody to. Well, we don't really have Uber Eats here. I don't know. They might have it in Berlin, but here where I am, we have something called Lieferando, which is
Okay.
like Uber Eats. Actually, it's more
Okay.
like Grubhub. It's more like, yeah, it's more like Grubhub, Lieferando.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I want somebody to order me Lieferando. But yeah, it's just so crazy how everything has transformed. School, online school, even working from home,
Everything.
um, online ordering now because a lot of people are doing that instead. I've been doing that, so that's not news for me. But the new
Mhm.
part is that I'm actually home to receive the packages, so that's good. So much things have been changed, and I just wonder what that's gonna look like. I just wonder how knowing language. I just wonder like how that's gonna affect like as far as people who like to travel or want to do these programs. Like there was a program I was looking at in Argentina because they had free tango classes with
Okay.
the lessons every day, and it was
Mhm.
actually pretty cheap. So
Mhm.
it included like a homestay, breakfast, and then tango lessons every day. And I'm
Okay.
just like, okay, well, how does that work? Like, when is this pandemic going to be over? How is that going to
Right.
work? You know what I mean? How does this work
Mhm.
with going to language schools or the study abroad? Or like, how is this going to affect it in the future? I think about those things as well.
Mhm.
So it's just like, it's a crazy situation we're in right now.
Yeah, I think every industry has been affected. There's like changes across the board. And so much still that's just up in the air. Like we really have no idea at this point
Mm-hmm.
what there's like some people saying they don't think that travel is going to go back up to like 2022, I think I've seen, or something like that.
What? No, that's too much. I don't think that.
I don't know. We'll
It,
see. Hopefully not, but I mean, yes, I would love for the borders to open and like go places and all of that is great. Um but I really like just feel for people who like their worlds have been turned upside down, people who are not working, or because I also wonder like if schools don't open back up but people have to go back to work, what's that going to look like, for I think we're seeing a lot of like the inequities and issues that exist in society that are definitely
mm-hmm.
exacerbated by something like this.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. It's hard for single parent households like my sister.
mm-hmm,
Luckily her roommate, he works in medical billing, so he's able to work from home, while they have it like that. So
mm-hmm,
then someone's able to be home with my niece while my
right,
sister's at work because she can't go to school now. Because normally my niece would come home and
mm-hmm,
she either if my sister was off that day or she worked a day shift and she would already be home by the time my niece got home, or my niece would be home by herself for like 2 hours. And she usually would call me on FaceTime, like, hey, and I would talk to her until somebody got home. So that way she
mm-hmm.
didn't feel like lonely or whatever.
Using
Because we're
alone.
6 hours ahead. So by the time she calling me at 3 o'clock, it's 9 o'clock here.
Mm,
So I usually talk to her for a little while. But anyway, I say that to say people who live in single parent homes and they, you know what I mean, they can't afford to have somebody stay home and they have to go back to work.
mm-hmm.
It's hard because the majority of
Absolutely.
single parent homes are certain demographic.
Or even people who got laid off, and some people are laying off and they'll have a job to go back to. Some people basically got fired, they won't have a job to go back to.
Right.
um, it's a lot. People who I'm sure there's going to be people who end up homeless because of this situation. And it's rough. Things are rough for a lot of people. New York is crazy right now, so it's just,
Yeah, it is.
it's something that I don't think that anybody, well, I was gonna say like individuals could have like planned or prepared for. I mean, everybody, you want to prepare for emergencies or whatever, but something of this magnitude was like, who could have imagined that like the whole world was
No,
gonna
no, never.
shut down?
I thought this was gonna be my year. I was like,
You and a lot of people, a lot of people
I
were
was
very
about to have a hot
excited.
girl summer. I missed
Yes.
out last year. No.
People were very excited about 2020, and then psych.
Yeah, basically. But I think because of that, I think that I think next year things are going to be, I think things are going to slowly start to get back to normal this year.
I hope
Slowly
so.
though. I mean, like when I say slowly, I'm talking about turtle slow. Matter of fact, I'm talking about tortoise slow. Like
I hope
slowly,
so.
inch by inch, do something that resembles normalcy. And I think next year is when things will start, because I already saw an advertisement talking about Greece is about to open up back for tourists,
Mm-hmm.
which I know Greece had to be hit hard because I think they're the weakest economy in this whole area of Europe. I
Yeah,
think, I don't know.
I think a lot of places are gonna start making economic decisions versus health decisions, just because, like, especially countries that rely heavily on tourist dollars
Hmm.
and airlines and everything. People are losing money, and at the end of the day, money trumps everything else.
Right. Yeah. My goodness. Well, thank you so much for everything. Thank you for everything. You dropped so many gems. It was great talking to you, getting
Same
to know you
here.
more, your story, your language learning journey, everything. And I know everybody watching is enjoying it too. So if you could let us know how we can follow you on social, or if we could follow you on social, you incognito, like what are you
Nah, don't
doing?
follow me. No, I'm playing. Yes, so I'm on basically everything under the Kefar. So Instagram at the Kefar, on Facebook, my
Hmm.
Facebook page. If you are specifically interested in learning Hebrew, I have a group that's also associated with the page. So you can get on the page and find that. It's called Learn Hebrew with the Kefar. I'm on LinkedIn under, my name. And what else? I think I have other things. I might be on Twitter. I don't know, but I don't use that. But anywhere
It's
you want to find
okay.
me there at the Kifar.
I'll put all of that in the description bar. Can't even talk. The description box below. Real quick
Awesome.
before we go though, I'm just curious because I know my reason for like not being on Twitter. What's your reason for not being on Twitter?
Um, it's too much. First of all, it's already enough to keep up with the social media platforms that I'm on now, and with Twitter it felt like my Facebook feed updates regularly, but with Twitter it was like every set, it's too many tweets, like it's just too much. And so I let that die a little bit and
Yeah.
focused on other platforms. Maybe one day I'll go back to it, I don't know, but it was just too much.
Yeah, yeah, it can be. And I think like a tweet only lasts like a couple seconds anyway. Like I was listening to a
it's
podcast and they were
it
talking
just comes
about,
in, yeah, you just
yeah,
lose it.
it's
Nobody got time
gone
for
after after, so it's like what's the point?
that. Yeah.
Excuse me, sorry. All right, so then I guess that's all for today. Thank you again for
No
coming
problem.
on.
Thanks for the invite. It was great talking to you and learning a little bit about your journey as well.
Thank you, thank you. All right, well, thanks everybody. Besitos, language bay.